What's good, y'all? Elvis here. I'm 26, but I've had a bunch of crossroads in my life where, retrospectively, the way I made a big leap or the way that I made a unexpected amount of progress, it didn't even have to do with adding a bunch of extra shit to my plate. I got a lot more out of just removing a few things. Addition by subtraction. You get more taking out a negative habit than adding in a whole new positive habit. Because we only have a finite amount of time and energy. We can only spend energy doing a certain amount of things. And when you're in a stage where you know extra stuff needs to be done, you kind of feel like, oh, well, I have to cram this in. But most of the things that are taking our bandwidth in the first place aren't even essential. A good example is like sexual transmutation. Sexual, creative, and spiritual energy is all the same in nature. We just have different outlets to let it flow. And when you hold off on expressing it in one way, the energy just flows out through another. I'm gonna keep it straight. I'm not super concerned with how people spend their sexual energy and intention or whatever, but I've realized that the more disciplined I can be about how my sexual energy flows, whether that's just attention or energy I'm actually utilizing, it makes me a lot more effective creatively as well as spiritually. And fasting from certain things I find pleasure in gives me a whole lot of energy back in the periods that I need to pivot and do something else. And now I'm thinking I kind of need to hear that, because I've been wanting to do a lot of extra tasks lately. I'm only one person with the resources of one person. So there is a limit on what I can get done. This isn't even just a habits thing. You can say the same thing about health. Something as simple as like limiting my sugar intake did wonders for my health. I had more energy. I wasn't crashing. I lost a bunch of weight. Once I weaned myself off a whole lot of added sugar, I lost the craving for sugar. Me adding the sugar on a regular basis, whenever I was feeling I wanted a little pick-me-up, when I was kind of bored, or I just wanted some kind of pleasure or stimulation. Like every time I added the sugar, I reinforced my body wanting more. So my body just got accustomed to what I was doing to it. And when I was a kid, I could eat candy all day, you know what I'm saying? And then maybe the next day I might have a bump or two. But now I could have one candy bar, drink a whole gallon of water, and still break out the next day. I've gotten a lot more sensitive, but realistically, I think my body has become a lot more in tune with what makes it move the most optimally. Just like how my body was accustomed to just doing the best it could with a whole bunch of added sugar, is doing the same thing with a low sugar diet. The results, I got higher energy, I got more bandwidth to focus. I'm less dependent on something outside of myself. For me specifically, the same thing can be said for dairy, gluten. And also now I'm thinking about it like relationships. Like how many relationships have you found out were only bad for you? How many relationships did you find out needed to be subtracted because you found peace in their absence? I realized that with a lot of the people I've been around in my life. I didn't realize that they were slowly poisoning me because my tolerance was growing steadily. But why would I want to grow my tolerance to poison? I don't like to throw the word toxic around a lot because people like to get triggered, but I also don't think that's something to take real personal. It's completely relative what you consider toxic. It's a treat to us, but you kill a dog with chocolate. Recently I found out through their absence, like there's a lot of people in my life that were not good for me, because I'm realizing that I'm experiencing better now. But better doesn't feel good. What's good is what feels familiar. And none of this shit is familiar. This is the most uncomfortable I've ever been, but I'm seeing the contrast for where I am now and who I was, and this is not comfortable. But I cannot argue in any way that my old life, my old circumstances were better. And I know people gonna feel a way about that, but you know, that's not really my business no more. But also, I understand that I'm becoming a better version of myself now. And I feel like I've been on this trajectory for a while. But if I'm the better version of myself now, that means I was a worse version interacting with a lot of these other people. And I think that birds of a feather flock together. If you're the kind of person that feels like the people around you don't care about your interests, you're constantly over leveraging yourself for them, and blah, 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 and you can always complain about the people around you, I guarantee you are a similar person. Because people like you, people like me, back then, knew the kinds of people that we could go to for a source that would over leverage themselves for us. We have a sixth sense for that kind of shit. And it's not malicious or intentional, like, oh, I'm gonna go take advantage. It's like, it's just a coping strategy to get a need met. But if you don't understand what that need is, and you don't understand that the way you go about meeting that need is not the most healthy, or it's could be considered manipulative, that's some uncovering you need to do. That's some uncovering I had to do, because I didn't realize I was over leveraging myself for everybody, and then for the very few people that could offer me something, I was such in a place of my cup being empty that I was like, just pour into me, and I wasn't considering them. So I'm for sure not holier than thou. But I know the one thing that makes me different compared to a lot of the people that I've been around that took advantage of me was, as soon as I was aware of how I was moving, I decided to make a change. And that's why I'm so uncomfortable now. I could have stayed in those old relationships, but those relationships didn't have space for the person that I'm growing into. So I would have stayed the same person. And I don't think that would have been worth it. I'm realizing life doesn't exist to just sit here and chill. It's for the growth. We need the contrast of the blessings and the tragedy, because we're supposed to grow through the chaos. I don't think God cares about our comfort. I think he gives us exactly what we need when we need it, but past that, I think our assignment is to use what we have to grow through our circumstances and to help the next person. And that don't gotta be like just any kind of person on the street. I think we have the biggest potential to do God's work through people that speak our language. Helping somebody that is your neighbor, whether geographically, spiritually, whatever you consider your neighbor, has a more profound effect than helping somebody who doesn't understand the layers of how God's working through you. Because I think you should help anybody you feel called to. Me giving out all my money or all my time or all my energy indiscriminately is not honoring the blessings that God gave me and using them to maximize the blessings that I can give out to other people. I have to be able to invest in myself, to grow myself, grow the people around me, and us as a collective will continue to do the work. I don't necessarily think that sacrificing yourself and your future for a stranger makes that much sense. You are called to spring into action in the nick of time for whatever the situation is, that's between you and God. But I know that nobody cares about the mission that God put me on as much as I do. Not on the specific objective on the mission, no. I got it. I'm not gonna compromise the overall mission. God works through infinite avenues. We are all one of infinite avenues. It don't always gotta be you. Sometimes God's gonna work through your kindness, and sometimes your kindness is not gonna be nice. Holding somebody accountable is kind. You care about where they're trying to be, the person that they are going to become. If you're nice, you'll just do some shit to smooth over interaction, even if you resent it on the inside. That's not honoring the God in you. And are you helping this person or are you enabling them? Realistically, if I wasn't the best version of myself back then when I was interacting with, let's say, old friends, old family members, or people that were considered family, it's addition by subtraction in their life from their perspective about me. I'm adding to their life by subtracting myself. If people bring out the worst in me, even if I'm doing good things but I'm having resentment inside, that's not a better version of me. And that's gonna just only create a more resentful version of me. I don't think Elvis full of resentment is a better Elvis. Anybody who would fit into the future I have for myself that includes me being better wouldn't wish that upon me. So I know that it's coming from a higher sense of love, not the love that just wants to feel the good feelings right now, but the love that wants to see you do well regardless if I'm attached to this. If it's not coming from that kind of place, I can honestly go without it. So that's all I got for today. If you liked the video, appreciate that. If you have any thoughts, go ahead and throw those in the comments. If you haven't already followed your boy on Instagram and TikTok, @CutsByElvis, @BetterBarbering. But till next time, Craft of a Clout, I'm out.